Welcome, fellow environmentalists, mindset changers, and conservationists. Today with us is Sebastian Scott. Welcome to the program.
Thank
Sebastian.
you. Great to be here.
Thank you. So, over the last 2 months, we've had some deep research going on, trying to find out more about conservation farming and holistic management. And we came across names like Alan Severy and the wife Jodie Butterfield. Then we came to Zambia, and the key names that kept on coming up when it comes to holistic management and conservation farming were Rolf Shenton and Sebastian Scott. So we would like to give an opportunity to the viewers to know who exactly is Sebastian Scott. What's your background? Where were you born? Where did you go to school? And how did you find yourself in conservation farming?
Okay. Well, to answer the first question, then I was born in Kalulushi on the Copper Belt, because my dad had been contracted to put in an irrigation system and start the Commonwealth Development Corporation farm in Impongwe.
Okay.
So that was the closest hospital. So when I tell people that, they often ask me, then you speak Bemba. But unfortunately my Bemba is not very good, but I'm working on it,
Okay.
slowly but surely.
Okay.
But yeah, so from there, I didn't really grow up and go to school in Zambia as such, because when I was 4, my family decided to move to Kenya, and then after that to UK. So pretty much all of my school was in UK. That's school and university. And then as I was growing up, I would come back here because my dad moved back here when I was around 12. But even before then, we would come back every summer, every 2 years, every 1 year. And as I was growing up, I remember thinking to myself, what do I really want to do with my life? Because I've been given all this opportunity, good education. I've never had to stop my education to go and work for my family, to support my family. You know, I've been given a good hand in life. So what am I going to do with myself that I'll be happy with myself when I'm on the last day on my deathbed? And I thought, no, for me it seems obvious that I should try and give back to people who haven't had the opportunity that I've had and do something to help. And obviously I thought Zambia would be the best place to do that. At that time, one of the poorest countries in the world, and as my home country. So I thought, no, let me give something back to Zambia, because Zambia has given me and my family a lot in the past. So I thought, no, where would I be able to help? You know, and to me it was always amazing to see the level of poverty living between, you know, Lusaka, where you have rich people with poor people, and England, where you have a lot of rich people. And then coming here, you go to the village, people are still living a very simple lifestyle in poverty. So I thought, no, let me focus my efforts on trying to do some kind of development in rural areas, because that's where I felt there was a big need. And really this led me towards, like you said, conservation agriculture, organic farming, holistic management, as a way to try and understand how we could find a way that people can make enough money to have good lives in rural areas, at the same time as not destroying the environment. Because, you know, I think we talked about it earlier, the soil fertility in Zambia is declining, the forest resource is declining, the animals are finished, the fish are finishing. It's not sustainable. Against that, we have a rapidly growing population. So where's the food going to come from? Where's the good livelihood that we've enjoyed up to now in Zambia from the natural resources? The fruit, the mushrooms, the honey, the production from the fertile soil. It's all going down. And this is creating even more poverty than there was in those days. So at the same time increasing population. So it really got me thinking now, we need a way of producing food and managing the environment where the people who are some of the poorest people in the world, living here in Zambia, I think there's some statistics saying that 60% of our population is 60% of the rural population are living on less than $1.25 a day, which is 16 kwacha, whatever it is. How do we manage the environment better, not just for conservation, because these people need an income. That's why you see deforestation and overfishing and all these things. Not people doing it for fun or because they're evil people. No, they're doing it to support their families, just like you and I work so we can support our families. That's the resource they have available to them. Now the question is, how do you help those same people to manage the resources in such a way that instead of the resource declining over time against the increasing population and demand, that resource, whether it be the fish, the forest, the wildlife, the agricultural land, the grazing land, is actually improving. And that's really what I've dedicated the last 22 years of my life doing, is trying to find ways of improving soils and agricultural management systems. My colleague Rolf Shenton is more focused on the forest and the fish and the wildlife, but we overlap. I mean, we've got the same vision. We've got to get people out of poverty, managing the natural resources we have in such a way that we don't finish all the resources and stop them producing. I think this is a good summary of how I kind of got to where I am today, to really, and I thought, early on, I think I said it earlier too, early on in my life, I've always been quite a practical person, fixing my bike, and if something's broken, I'll fix it. So I've got hands, I work with my hands, So I thought, if I'm going to really help people, I have to understand what farming is all about. And that's why I have a farm which I've been managing with a hand hoe kambwiri for 20 years. People often ask, why is a Muzungu from such a family as his going and using a hoe in the field? We do it because we don't have a choice, but you have a choice. You've always had a choice. Why are you doing it? And the answer is simple.
Why did you pick that?
The answer is yes, it's hard work. And the answer is simple. If I didn't do it, then I wouldn't know what is possible and what's not possible with a hoe.
Exactly.
I could have started a farm with a tractor, but what would that prove? Everyone knows the tractor can do this. The small-scale farmer needs a solution for the small-scale farmer. What can you do with a hoe, with a plow, with a ridger? All these things, that's what we've been investigating and demonstrating, best ways to use those things at the same time looking after your soil, which is the foundation for all the growth on the farm. So 22 years of experience working on farms, doing my own research, and 20 years of actually farming myself. I think now it's beginning to give me enough experience now to really work with farmers and organizations that work with farmers to say, look, this is what I did and this was the result and this is the better way to do it. Rather than just reading from a book or hearing an idea from somewhere and say, no, this is what we should do. Too much theory. Immediately the farmer hears that, they'll start asking you questions. Did this person really do that or not? And it's good. For me, I'm very confident I can stand in front of 100, 200 farmers. I'll tell them exactly what happened when I did what. So it puts me in a very good position. It might seem odd, but in order to find the solution, you need to go down there and do the thing with your hands. That's when you see it. After years and years of trying different things, you really get an idea of what works and what doesn't work. So when I speak about what works, it's not from a book. It's from actually doing it with my own hands year after year, trying to this way and that way, and eventually coming up with something that I think might help,
So, finding out further from you, Sab, this is what I've noticed amongst the young people in our country, and we are relatively young.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believe that in order to become rich, you have to invest in some fancy, flashy business. You need to drive fancy, flashy cars. Wealth should be in an accounting consultancy firm. It should be in some big manufacturing. You know, people think wealth is in some unique kind of investment. None of the young people want to look at the soil as a source of wealth. What advice would you give to the young people that are looking to become financially stable, become rich? How do they take on farming as a worthy alternative to generate finance for themselves? And what is the significance in life of a simple life, content with the little you have, even if you don't have the Beamer and Benzo?
Now you've asked a very deep philosophical question here, and I'll try to answer it in a shorter time period as I can.
Okay.
Because you've asked a lot of things there. So,
yes.
you know, for me, my main focus is the rural population who really do live off very little money. How to bring them up instead of them earning something which is common, maybe say 5,000 kwacha or 7,000 kwacha in the whole year from their farm. Let's get them to a stage where they're making 40, 50, 60,000 kwacha from the same farm. That's really my goal.
Okay.
For someone who's had a good education and, you know, has opportunity for an accounting job, if you enjoy that, go for it. No problem. You know, but for me, I don't know if it's because I come from a privileged background, but I always thought to myself, why would I choose a life that I was going to do something I didn't want to do, I didn't enjoy, from 8 in the morning till 17 hours every day, just to get money to enjoy the things so I can drive to work for 30 minutes in a Beamer. I've enjoyed, oh, now I've got to work for 8 hours and not enjoy, and then I'm back to my house for 30 minutes to enjoy the Beamer. You know, and then you're sleeping for another 8 hours. So I've always thought, you know, for me, I've always loved being in nature, and farming is an opportunity for me to be in that every day. I have a simple life. I mean, I have a phone, I have a computer, I have a solar. I can charge my phone and computer. I can go on Facebook like anybody else. I don't have a bad life. I've got enough. I've got good food from the field. I enjoy good health. You know, the only real cost I have is sending my kids to good schools, so they can also have the choice like I had, and not have to, you know, have to work, whether you like it or not. You have to work. That's my job as a father to my kids, is giving them a good enough education so that when it comes to it, they can choose. And that costs a lot of money in Zambia if you want to educate your kids well. So
very true.
That's tricky, but you know, I would say, from my perspective, you can see my house, which I built with my own hands. The walls are not 100% straight, you know. But it's okay. The roof doesn't leak. You know, I'm happy with my life. Simple life it is, and you know, it's really about what you're happy with as a person. I mean, these days you also have the concern. Everyone's talking about climate change and how it's created. It's a very simple thing. It's created by human consumption of things.
Exactly.
So if you're always consuming, which is good for economics, because that makes the money spin. But if you're always consuming, it's that consumption of things which drives the pollution. Plastic doesn't just come out of nowhere. It comes out of someone buying something in a plastic. global warming from, for example, from greenhouse gas emissions from cars.
Yes.
Comes from someone driving a car from A to B. That's the pollution. And the factory to make the metal, to make the car, or to make whatever it's making, the phone or whatever it is, that drives it. So the more you consume, the more pollution you create. And in this world today, when we're looking at the whole world as, can we manage to keep the world as it is? I think you have to be a very conscious consumer. And it's very difficult to choose the right things. So for me, you know, I've been happy with living with less, because I know that's less impact, less things. You know, if something's, you know, my daughter was asking me the other day, she says, this kettle you've got, Dad, it's completely finished. Why don't you throw it away? Why do you keep fixing it? You fixed it about 10 times. I said, no, if I throw the kettle away and buy a new one, first I have to work for the money. Second, I'm creating pollution by throwing the kettle away, and I'm creating even more pollution by buying a new kettle.
Exactly.
And it will probably come in a plastic with a box, and be flown over all the way from wherever it is, China or India, all that fossil fuel pollution. So now I'm going to fix it until it's completely finished. That's when I'll think about buying a new one. But, you know, I think there's a lot to be said for using the things we consume consciously. One, for the effect on the environment. And the other thing is, you know, for me, I don't feel comfortable when there's people who don't have enough money to buy food. Then you're enjoying life like there's nothing wrong. I would rather accept a bit of a reduction in my standard of living to at least have a standard of living I think everyone can achieve if they just put a bit of effort. Like this house made out of termite soil, second-hand roofing sheets, second-hand windows, all done by myself. And like I said, it's not perfect. Anyone can see my house is not perfect, you know, but
it's cozy.
it's cozy and it's nice. You know? As long as you're not too fussy, you can enjoy living in such a place. You know?
Exactly.
And yeah, so you asked a complicated question. I hope the answer is not too complicated.
No, it's a simplified and philosophical answer as well. So, Seb, thank you so much for your time. And dear viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Join us next time when we present another episode on conservation and the environment. Click on any of our platforms and follow us. Support us. Thank you so much.
That's good, man.
Awesome.